Welcome to Adelaide City Talks, the podcast that delves into the inner workings of Adelaide City Council. I'm Henry Davis, a councillor for the South Ward on Adelaide City Council, and I'm joined by my co-host Mary Couros, who is a councillor in the North Ward. We'll be bringing you the latest news and updates on the council's activities, as well as some in-depth discussions on the issues that matter most to Adelaide City residents. Now, in this second episode, we'll be taking a closer look at the rise of a new dominant faction in the Adelaide City Council, and also maybe discussing what we hope to achieve in the next year. So sit back, relax, and join us as we explore the happenings of the Adelaide City Council.
And just remember, as you're listening, please remember that the views expressed in this podcast are our own personal views and do not necessarily reflect the views of Council. Hi, Henry.
Hey, how are you? How are
Happy
your holidays?
New Year.
Yeah, you too. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Did you enjoy your break?
Oh, I had a great break. So, as you know, I'm quite a conservative tax lawyer, from the Liberal Party, and I went to Beyond the Valley Festival and they had a doof tent there. So I was sitting in the doof tent raving out for 3 days, and that was quite a sudden change from what I'm used to, but I had a great time and went with a group of friends. We camped there for 3 days. So that was my New Year's experience.
Sounds good. Well, I spent time at Port Elliot. Lado, my partner, has a house there, and we had all the family there, and so we spent a good 10 days trying to have a relaxing time, but it ended up being a bit like a B&B. For my family,
Lovely.
For my kids.
Yeah.
But it's great. It's great to spend time with them and be able to, enjoy a bit of downtime.
Amazing. So,
did you get to go to any of the events like the Midnight Moments?
no, I've been away for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But I came back and I just did another week. To last year was pretty full on. There was 4 elections, started my law firm, and all the charity stuff that I've been doing. So I just took another week off work and basically went to the gym, went to the beach, and I'm now back into it, full swing, feeling recharged.
Well, the city has gotten back into it as well.
That's
so
right.
we started off with the Midnight Moments.
Yep.
We started off, I think they had, I didn't end up going, I was meant to go, but the drive down from Port Elliot, it was just no one wanted to come down with me. I didn't want to do that alone.
Mm-hmm.
But the feedback that I got was that they had the event in Rymel Park, which was a free family event at 9:30, and then they had the fireworks at midnight.
Great.
They closed off Rundle Street, and they closed off parts of Jeffcott Street outside the Lion. So it was great for businesses. I got a lot of texts. Yeah, well, I got a lot of text messages from businesses saying thank you.
Great.
It really gave them the opportunity to program something for their businesses for New Year's Eve. Generally, in the past, we had it only at Elder Park.
Yep.
Over COVID, we changed that to something more intimate in Rymel. We kept it at Rymel this time. It gives the opportunity to close off streets and to be able to have businesses do outdoor dining. And the weather was fantastic, and I got a lot of good feedback.
Great.
And we hit the ground even more running now with the tour. Well, we had tennis, Adelaide International, the tennis. We've got the tour down under, which is great. And it's going to just keep on going.
Mad January now.
Mad January. We've got Fringe coming up. We've got WOMAD. We've got
It's all happening. Back in full swing.
And we'll be talking a lot about that as we keep going.
Sure.
So we had our special meeting last night.
Yep, which was, my first week back at work, and we're straight into a special meeting to discuss the meeting procedures and the structure, the structure of the committees that we would have on council going forward into the next term.
So just for everyone to understand, we were operating without a governance structure. So in effect, we couldn't do really any business until we formulated this. So in the past, what I have known, this is my second term, so I'm not professing to be a complete expert, but last term of council, we signed off on the first meeting to continue with the old system that they had, the old governance system, and then we had the opportunity to change it as time went on, which we did 6 months in after we had a feel of the structure and how it ran. That would have been my preference, to have kept the old structure, because I even though we have some experienced board members on council, but they are newly elected, and the format for council is much different to what a normal board is. And so it would have been good to have seen everyone see the agendas and how they roll out and how our meetings roll out. But nevertheless, it was insistent by some of the councillors to change it completely. So we had 3 options. So the option 1 was to stay status quo. Option 2 was to have 5 separate committees.
Under the strategic heads or whatever.
Yes, that's right, under the strategic head plan. And then option 3 was 4 committees. So City Planning, Development and Business Affairs Committee, Infrastructure, Public Works Committee, City Finance and Governance Committee, and City Community Services and Culture Committee.
So this doesn't make sense to me at all. So, because everyone's on these committees, it's essentially the council.
Yes.
And so my view was, why don't we just have more council meetings and set aside discussion time on particular issues? So I'm from Burnside City Council. We didn't have a subcommittee or something called the committee.
Yeah.
We had workshops. So, but that's why I would prefer the status 1 option to continue through. And I expressed that at the workshop we were discussing it, so I could actually get a feel for this new regime and continuity with the old council, so I can get my head around what the purpose of a committee was. But we're straight into a brand new structure, I think, at a significant increase in cost to the City of Adelaide residents.
Yeah, so in the end, we voted on an option. So it was voted on option 3. So option 3 means 4 committees, as I detailed them before, and this option is going to cost over the 4 years, if we continue with this same structure, $120,000 extra and over and above. So because each committee has a chair and a deputy chair, but the chair gets paid about $7,500 per annum extra on top of what they get paid as a councillor. So the deputy Lord Mayor gets paid an extra, I don't know, $15,000, I think it is.
I think it could be,
over and above for being a Deputy Lord Mayor.
So I understood that Deputy Lord Mayor in the previous council chaired the committee, and then the increase in salary was for the additional work that comes with chairing the committee.
That's
and
right.
Also potentially the additional responsibilities that comes as Deputy Lord Mayor to represent the Lord Mayor when she's not available.
Yeah, so the thinking was in the last term of council, after we've been with the old system, so the system before the council prior was that they had committees which were decision-making bodies, and then that could have been undone with the in the council meeting, which generally it was. So you voted on the item twice, you discussed it twice, debated on it, and the recommendation may have been changed several times.
Yeah.
And then after that, what would happen in the committee, the chair was rotated, right? And the chair would get a fee.
Sure, sitting fee.
Sitting fee.
Oh, I see. And you have the Deputy Lord Mayor as well. Okay.
So the previous council, some of the elected members thought, well, hang on a minute, you're getting paid as a councillor. The Deputy Lord Mayor gets an extra $15,000. Why not have the Deputy Lord Mayor chair all the committees, right?
And that's included.
You're getting paid extra because, you shouldn't be just known as the person that goes to the events that the Lord Mayor doesn't go to. So they chair every committee and it cuts costs.
Yeah.
No extra fees involved.
Yeah.
So that was the thinking, but now this has changed. We're going back to paying for the chair, which is costing extra. So that's the cost. But on top of all that, the CEO did say, don't know if you recall, that there will be extra cost for governance.
And
so they have to
preparing agendas and time as well.
So they may have to increase costings there for governance, and also dinners are back because for every committee will have a dinner. Every council meeting will have a dinner, so it'd be interesting to see what the end costs will be at the end.
So, long story short is essentially council members are going to be paid an additional $120,000 under this new structure, which in my view doesn't necessarily deliver any better outcome. It's really just separating the business of council down, and there's going to be no change to the remuneration of the Deputy Lord Mayor, who was previously receiving an increased amount on top of his council allowance to chair those committee meetings. So to me, I have a real problem with the increased costs, and I don't think it's justifiable to the Adelaide City residents, and so I'd like to look at bringing a motion to council to reduce the cost and potentially reducing the allowance that the Deputy Lord Mayor would get for chairing those committees.
Yeah, so that's what we decided on last night. What happens in the council meeting, what you decide to do as a motion, it remains to be seen. What changes there after that. So, how did you feel about everything, Henry? You are
dodgy as.
I sat next to you, or you sat next to me, right?
Yeah.
And you had me a little bit, like your sarcastic comments were coming through into my ear.
Yeah.
Because I could feel that you were quite, you weren't outwardly upset, but you were amazed at something.
Yeah, so I was absolutely flabbergasted at what happened in the meeting last night. So what happened was there was a group of people who walked into that meeting and knew exactly what was going to happen. They knew which motion was going to come up, which people would get those chairs, and then there was another group of people who had no idea. So I'm calling this the rise of a brand new faction, Adelaide City Council. Now, to my point of view, I'm an independent council. I've come from with clean hands into this new council, and I'm walking into this brand new faction. Which I believe has been led and orchestrated by Councillor Kieran Snape and the Deputy Lord Mayor Phil Martin. It definitely seems that way to me. So all these positions were already decided. And so what I decided to do was make the point, or putting my hand up essentially for every committee, and then showing what those votes would be. And it was organised down to a tune. And what I think that what's happened is it's a massive threat to our democracy, because now you've got two people making decisions essentially for the entirety of the city. And half of the council is now cut out. And these people ran on an independent platform. They said that, we need change in Adelaide City. There was a lot of criticism in relation to, say, Team Adelaide or the way that the council was functioning. That's true in the media, and there was that anxiety, I suppose, in the community. And you've got a brand new set of people come in, and now they've immediately formed a new faction in Adelaide City Council. And to me, that was absolutely flabbergasting. I could see it happening last year, and now it's followed through with even more certainty and even more clarity, and I just don't know what to do. Like, what is now my role in Adelaide City Council? It doesn't matter what I think, it matters only what two members of council think.
Well, it was labelled in the press as Team North Adelaide,
Yeah.
which kind of sits funny with me because I am from North Adelaide. And I'm obviously not invited as part of their faction. It's really interesting to me to hear you say that. We all know that councils have always had factions. It's always been the case.
Yeah.
It happens in politics, in their own parties.
Yeah.
It happens in local government. What would you have liked to have seen different though?
So when you talk about councils having factions in the past, so on Burnside Council, there was a group of people that I knew and over time became friends with, I suppose, in a more informal way. And we would generally align on a particular issue. And so I knew that if somebody was going to bring me any idea, that I would generally start with a yes. Now, there were some councillors there who had really, really bad ideas, and they were foolish and irresponsible, and I would generally start with a no. But I could always be convinced, and it would always change. So going into a meeting on Burnside Council, I didn't know what the outcome would be. And so I would speak with everyone on council as best as I could and make a point, but I had no idea what the outcome would be. This is different from a faction or in a state and federal government. When you walk into the parliament, you know exactly how many numbers you have. You know if your motion will succeed or not. And this is not like other councils. So this idea of having a dominant faction controlling it, what that actually means is that the faction leader, or whoever's doing the most work or calling the shots, they get to decide what happens. Not a group anymore. They might have input, but it's just like the leader of a political party. They have the ability to override the majority of their faction, and then that faction overrides the majority of Adelaide. And to my mind, this is exactly the opposite of what Adelaide City Council needs. It's the exact opposite of what residents in the Adelaide City were promised at the last election by these new independent members on council. And I think that the residents of Adelaide should be rightly worried and let down by what's happened in our first two council meetings.
It's hard. Well, I get what you're saying, and 100% right. You should be going in there with your own mind and making your own decisions and for your constituents.
Yeah.
I mean, I was criticised being part of Team Adelaide. To me, Team Adelaide was a name created for Martin Hazy's run for Lord Mayor. He didn't end up running, and then the team that he had put together was dismantled. Some ran, some didn't. But and the ones that did ran got labelled Team Adelaide under Sandy Bashaw because she started running. But for me, it was you either were going to vote for Sandy Bashaw or Mark Hamilton,
yeah,
who was running for Lord Mayor. But it all got twisted. And then when we got onto council, majority of new councillors were labelled Team Adelaide. But when we started, though, Henry, this is what people don't seem to forget, because it is many years ago. Anne was on CAP, and Councillor Moran. Phil Martin was on the Audit Risk Committee. Anne actually used to chair our committees, the first 6 months.
Yeah.
But things started going a bit pear-shaped, not because of any faction, but because of personalities.
Sure.
And very evident in the culture investigation report. I encourage people to read it if they wanted, to understand behaviours and a reason why relationships started breaking down.
Yeah.
And when relationships start breaking down, people gravitate towards each other. And that's how I saw last term of council. And if you want to feel safe in an environment, you go to people that you tend to be with people that are that make you feel safe. So anyway.
Yeah. So my experience is totally different from yours. I didn't have any help from either faction, whatever it was, either kind of anybody from the old council. I ran my own independent campaign, and I'm now walking into a council chamber where it doesn't matter what I say, it doesn't matter what I think. If the motion isn't agreed to by, essentially, I would say Councillor Snape, then it won't get up.
So I really feel sorry for you last night. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't mean to cast some pity on you, but
I love a bit of pity.
you did get deputy. The city committee
by a drawing out of a hat.
By drawing out of a hat, I know.
Because I got lucky.
You did.
Yeah.
I mean,
and honestly, I was in that council meeting, going, I was so amazed, and I wanted to make it very plain to everyone in that meeting that I knew exactly what was going on.
Yeah.
And I think that a number of councillors felt guilty that they had decided to start off the term in this way.
Yeah.
And I think that they decided midway through to reflect on the morality, and it seemed that one councillor switched their view and decided to vote for me for a deputy position on one thing. But the rest of the time, it was bang, 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 all lined up.
Yeah. So I was lucky.
I don't think you were lucky.
Well, I was lucky that I had the Lord Mayor advocate for me to have one position. So she advocated for me prior to the meeting for me to have the Infrastructure and Public Works Committee. I did actually wanted the City Planning, Development and Business Affairs Committee, but I was actually told by Councillor Martin that this was going to be calm. It was prior to the meeting. And I said, well, okay, can I be deputy then? If obviously the numbers are not there, I'm not going to get that. And he goes, no. He goes, Councillor Noon would like me to be deputy.
Right.
So it was already predetermined. And it was even more predetermined and evident as time went on, during the meeting. And it was almost like you were laughing because of nervousness, or you were laughing because you couldn't believe it, or you were laughing because you really thought this would be better.
So you got this position not because, in my view, I do not believe that the chairs of those committees were appointed there because of merit or a view of who would be the best person to chair these committees, or that open thought. And I certainly don't think that when we were casting those votes, that every person thought independently about the candidates. So the reason why I think that I had no idea that you were going to be the chair, and that was at somebody else's direction and control. And so that is the biggest issue. So I believe that the reason why you're appointed as chair is because so that they can claim as a defence that they're not a faction, which I don't buy. Because if they had have said no to you, you wouldn't have got it. So it's currently controlled, in my view, and I would say controlled by a group of, I think, 7 councillors, and whatever they say goes, which is not good.
Well, it is unfortunate, but let's see what happens.
Well, look, I hope that people reflect on the campaign that they ran, that they were going to bring independence, that they were going to bring their own decision-making abilities, and that they were going to vote with their own conscience and not sit there horse trading on each particular issue. Now, it is the dominant strategy in a council to find the majority plus one, just have a bare majority, and then the amount of that power is then condensed into those people. But we are very different from the state and federal government, and the model that local government operates on is one where you have 12 independent people making up their own mind, and that process is the way that you get the best outcomes from the community. The reason why we're disappointed with state and federal matters from time to time, the way that they make these decisions is because they don't think about what the other person was going to say.
Yeah.
And they're not conscious votes, they're not free votes, they're forced into it because of their party allegiance. And we have a real problem with that because Anthony Albanese sets the tempo. If he doesn't want a motion to go through Parliament, he says no, and that one person controls the country, right? The council, is, in my mind, different from that. It's like the Senate in Star Wars. It's that every single person, every single world is meant to have an independent view and vote for what they think is best, and that results to better decision making.
Yeah.
When you have a single person making decisions on behalf of the entirety of the city, that leads to bad decisions.
Well,
and I think my only role now is to hold that person to account.
Well, this brings me to the person that is leading, and the person that is leading at the moment is the Lord Mayor. So, we at the moment we don't have that on the floor. We have a leader on the floor, which is very difficult for the Lord Mayor because she's in the chair, so she doesn't get a voting position
or debate
in the matter. That's right. So it's really difficult when the Lord Mayor doesn't have that ability to be able to voice within the. Well, she can voice. But it becomes very difficult when it's dominated by a particular councillor.
The Lord Mayor has always said since the beginning that she wanted an independent council. She wanted us to work together, and if we can achieve 80% of what we want, then that would be a desired outcome, right?
Yeah.
But what's going to happen now is that you have a faction, and they will achieve 100% of what they want to the detriment of everyone else.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to happen, I fear.
How do you feel about the Lord Mayor?
I really like her. I think she's amazing.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think she is highly intelligent. I think she has a huge amount of experience, and there's so much I can learn from her. So I really, really like the Lord Mayor, and I think that everything that she's done has been to drive independence on council. So I couldn't speak highly of her.
Same here. I didn't know her at all prior to the election. And I didn't get to speak to her over the campaign because I think everyone's got so much energy in their own campaign that you don't want to get to know candidates or Lord Mayors that probably don't make it through. But in getting to know her, a very intelligent lady, understands the workings of a chamber, and I really have enjoyed working with her so far.
Yeah, she's incredible.
Yeah, it's great. It's been really good.
And I think she's been running the meetings really well. I know she puts pressure on you. I
asked 1,001 questions last night.
Yeah, and then you're like, but I haven't spoken yet. And she's like, oh no, I don't. I'm just gonna put the motion.
You've already asked like 10,000 questions, Mary. What more could you possibly say? But no, I get that. But my questions were trying to understand the model. And the costings of it. So just to be clear. I was like, can I speak now? No.
No, you've asked a question. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure I can debate the matter.
And then I felt like I had to wrap up really quickly.
Yeah. Which is like, so you got that pressure, which is good. So I think we'll be able to get through these agendas more quickly.
Yeah.
Which was obviously a problem in the last council, to an extent, right?
Well, last council was, oh God, we had like hundreds of motions and hundreds of questions in one meeting. So, if the person that was the culprit in doing so reframes themselves, we probably could get through them.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot quicker. So, So, lots of fun.
Look, my hope is that, like, you're always going to have people that have a general starting position. Like, you've got members of the Greens, you've got members of the Labor Party, you've got members of the Liberal Party, and you've got people with, like, different aspects, right? And those people are naturally going to think in the same way on certain issues. And I hope that people will go back to reflecting on what their platforms were, what the community told them when they were door knocking, and what kind of council that Adelaide City residents demand. But I'm not going to sit by and let one person control a council and make bad decisions, because that is not the right outcome.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Well, until next time.
Yeah.
Next meeting's on the 31st?
Yeah, that's right. How long have we been going? 24 minutes. We could probably wrap up here.
Wrap up here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, what would, I suppose, if there's one thing that you could see over the next year, what would you want to see? What would you want to try and achieve? Maybe we can end on that.
One thing that I would like to achieve, it's really hard to narrow it in on one thing.
Yes.
It's that one thing.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things that you'd like to achieve for the city, and I just hope, I have more of a hope than what I want to achieve, the one thing. And my hope is that we go forward in a way that we can work towards getting good outcomes for the city, and not on things that you think are wrong. Like, I hope people ask questions and research information. Like, I know there's a couple of councillors that don't like AIDA and would like more of their functions taken away, but please ask questions, find out,
understand the process currently, and then seek to change it.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. That's what I'd hope. There's a lot of things I would like to do and achieve.
Yeah.
But I'm just hoping that we work towards really making decisions on informed information.
So for me, the top 3 things that I'd like to see over the next year is that we develop asset management plans for a lot of our infrastructure, which we currently don't have. 2, do a review of our rates policy and change from the current method that we do it, because I think it's very unfair to residents, and I think that it doesn't cope with a whole bunch of inflationary pressures and really relies on the Valuer General's ability to set our own rates, and I would absolutely look at that. And then looking at advancing some of the projects that haven't been pushed forward, say different master plans around the place, and developing a master plan, but also having a look at, say, the old bus depot site and making sure that we are coming up with productive solutions to these problems.
Streets.
And our main streets, master plans,
and increasing our population, and supporting our businesses, and creating better infrastructure and improving it. Yeah, there is just so many things, but it's very clear and directive. I like that.
Yeah, so we'll see if it's doesn't matter what I think now. That's kind of how it feels, honestly.
Well, I hope not. I hope it gets better.
Yeah, me too. I hope that doesn't continue.
No.
But yeah, well, that's
nice chatting.
Second episode. Thank you very much, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks.
I think so.
All right. See you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.